and welcome yet again to episode 6 of the lockdown specials of the Madaxeman podcast. This week the gang reconvene to talk about what's been distracting them from the painting they really should have been doing, what new projects they wish they'd not started, and we also talk in depth in a brand new feature about the many different ways you can pull together a Tang Chinese army in art de la guerre. Towards the back end of it, you are warned, Andy's music returns with Andy's quiz sandwiched in between it in a kind of lovingly jam and ham sort of way, and after that you get the proper music at the end of the podcast. This is week 6. We are still going. We will be going next week. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Amazingly, this is week 6, and there's still all 6 people here. In fact, Peter, I think you're significantly more hairy each week. Really, we're getting there.
Everywhere. The
joys of Zoom. That's all good. And we've now survived, I think, 4 or 5 weeks of Andy's quiz music as well.
But you're the one that chose it.
No, well, it had to be free, so that limited my choices quite a lot. And I think it's almost becoming something kind of weirdly normal, but possibly that's a symptom of how deep we are into lockdown, really, more than anything else. So we're off on the regular way of starting. This week we've got a feature coming up on discussing the best way to put together one specific list in art de la guerre for some mad Chinese thing that Simon had half painted. And then we'll do the quiz, and then we may well sneak in another feature or two as well if we've got time. Although we did run to nearly an hour and a half last time, so something's obviously happening. So if I start in my traditional fashion of going round, and Andy, do you just want to just say the one word Vikings when we're talking about your painting, and then we'll just move on, or is there actually some detail this week?
I've finished the 6 units of Huscarls. I'm now on to painting the bowmen, so nearly finished.
So what colour paint are you using for their bows? Because that's always been a question for me. Do you go brown, or do you do some sort of yellowy yew tree side?
Well, kind of tan sort of colour. I mean, it just as long as it looks like it came off a tree, that's good enough for me.
Okay, fine. So it's just Vikings. We're done. No more to say. No, I suppose bowmen don't have shield patterns that you can get wrong or lose or anything like that either.
Well, you buy the. I've got the transfers. It's you just colour around the edge a bit, and apart from the other ones, I'm just kind of doing like rectangular swirls or things like that,
So are they going to look significantly better than the ones I managed to flog you in our own private eBay that managed to get there in the post?
Not really, no. But I say they won't be shown up by them.
Excellent, good stuff. Because that was the eBay thing. Okay, all right. Peter, have you given up trying to pronounce German words?
Cuirassiers, Austrian Cuirassiers. So lots of Napoleonic guys charging around on horses. I just finished them this evening, so quite pleased about them. I thought they were going to be harder than they were in the end. It's like you start looking at it, and it's got lots of lovely little colours and things and different stuff. And
Peter, if they make the Australian Cuirassiers, they should be yellow and gold, yellow and green.
Yeah,
Australian. Yellow. Did you say?
That's what he said.
Black breastplate. Yellow crested helmets with a black stripe down the back, so little wasps.
Is this the army you were saying you bought at Salute a year ago, or
no, these are the Napoleonics. The one I bought at actually yes, I did get these at Salute.
This is what we threw Peter under the bus with a miniature supplier, and
is this the AB Eureka thing?
There's a consistent theme here, Saunders, it was his excuse, I ended up with the Chinese, and Simon, it's his excuse, and Tim, that I ended up with the Austrians.
Right, and these are the AB figures. Are they AB figures?
They certainly are. I've got AB, and I've also got some of the Zen ones, some French Zen.
Zen?
Zen.
Yeah. No, that's Spanish, aren't they?
Spanish. Yeah, Spanish. And I got some, French limbers and things.
Okay. God, that is taking me back. I'd forgotten. I've actually got a directory of 15mm Napoleonic manufacturers on my website.
Funnily enough, you do, and I was looking at them. Hence, when I got to Salute, I actually had a list of stuff to pick out, and the illustrious Ozzy and Saunders were advising me on what to buy and everything else. And apart from more, get more, they actually were quite helpful with their advice.
Because that was one of them. Because when I got into a habit of setting up those manufacturing comparison things, and it was generating quite a lot of traffic, so I moved into doing a Napoleonic one, despite not owning a single 15mm Napoleonic figure at all.
Now you can speak with knowledge on it.
Well, not of 15mm, but we'll come on to that indeed. So how many is a lot of Cuirassier then?
Well, for the Battle Empire, I was looking at the list. I think basically 4 bases of it for Cuirassiers, I think, is enough actually.
All right, that gives you what, 2 units or?
Yeah, I think for most of the stuff, that's about it, as far as I can tell. Okay. Because you can have those. I've got already painted up the hussars, which were nicely coloured. So I think that's horsemen for now. I've just got a shed load of infantry to do.
And that's just going to be white, so that's quite simple.
Yeah, I've got a spray can for that.
Brilliant. Got spray can do Austrians. All excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's how I did my Austrians.
It's just then I started. I made the mistake of trying to get clever with it on the first batch that I did, and picking out little details like lapels and things like that. So now I'm sort of like, do I carry on at that same level, and will my eyesight last?
Excellent.
It's worthwhile carrying on, I think, for some of the more fancier units. Your big lines of Austrian infantry. No. No. Too many of them.
There we go. Yeah.
Have you got any Jaegers or Grenzers? Because they've got different colour uniforms.
So now you're actually getting it. Yes, I have. Following on from the trip abroad, where we're able to actually travel and associate with other people. I was in Hungary and Austria last year, so I actually had to pick up some of the different ones after, of course, going to the different military museums and seeing, oh, these look good. And they had a fun bit actually shooting different things. So I've got a whole nice little multicultural mixture of them.
Excellent. So this is does that mean you're now going to be into Austrians for the next few weeks then?
Yes, I think Austrians are going to carry me through the lockdown. Wow. They're going to be my Austrian army. Getting that on the table is my Austrian march to sanity.
My God, no distraction pieces then. You've just been consistent Austrians. Nothing's its way into the pile.
Apart from the Nafatoons that suddenly jumped out at me, which I thought, why not? Because I can use colour.
That's true. Okay. So other than 4 or 5 Arabs with explosive, what's its names? It's just been Austrians.
Cooking pots.
Well, it will be. For the next couple of weeks, it's Austrian mad, because I've got the Normans finished. So I've got my Sicilian Normans are all ready to go. My German World War II is finished off. So yes, it's the Austrians. Napoleonic Austrians. I want to actually finally finish off coming out of lockdown with a fully built out army. Whether they're any good or not, probably not.
Who knows?
Whether I'm good at it, different matter.
Yeah.
Well, they were the first ones to beat Napoleon in a proper battle once he became emperor, and it was that Battle of Aspern-Essling we did about last week.
See, Andy, you're building up my confidence in them. You're just making me want to paint them more.
You're not gazumping one of your quiz questions there, are you, Andy?
No.
Oh, that was too straightforward. Can't be one. Definitely can't be one. Okay. So Simon, you're next up on my screen with your Tercio background on Zoom. One of only 2 people on this call yet still to master the art of backgrounds on Zoom, even though we've been here for 5 weeks.
Yeah, shiny. So I've almost finished my Ancient British. I've done 9 or 10 bases of cavalry now. They're all finished. Done the generals, so they're all done. The decals that I ordered on the 6th of April arrived yesterday.
Wow, wait.
And you can tell that the postage is running slow. I had something posted to me from my office in London on the 6th of April, and it arrived at the same time. So things are running rather slow. So anyhow, so I got them done. I've also finished off some 25mm mixed, 15mm and 25mm mixed infantry for later medieval. So spear with the V.
Is that like one base with some midgets and some real people, or they're in separate units?
It's they're all single bases. So I've got
Right.
one 25 mil. I've got 6 of them in 25 mil and 6 in 15 mil of
Okay.
integrated spear with pavise, and then bow or crossbow in the rear ranks. I've just rebased a lot of my stuff on single bases, just so much easier.
I think I saw those online with the 25 mil ones, those Perry figures.
Yeah, so I think you introduced me to the Perry figures a few years ago, and my credit card has been hammered every time I walk past them.
Yeah, that box of mercenaries is astonishing for what you can do with it, isn't it?
It's brilliant,
absolutely
yeah,
awesome.
because you just start mucking around with it. You get lots of good options.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So Tamsin, what the painting machine? What happens this week in Tamsin world?
Oh, what have I done? I've got the Billman and
Wow.
Spearman done
Wow, that
towards Rose's army.
even though they're plastic, that tray that you're picking them up on, there's so many, it looks like it's sagging. That's a real.
Yeah. Well, it's quite thin cardboard for tray.
Oh right.
Look at
Okay.
that.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, and today I started work on the mounted figures. So base coated and washed, base coated, highlighted using the airbrush, and then washed the horses.
I saw the Billman on your blog as well, and it actually just suddenly struck me that is there kind of a place or a way that you do the photography, because the photos come out really cleanly on a sort of very neutral background.
Well, I use a couple of sheets of black foam core.
Okay.
Look, one underneath, one at the back. On top on my painting desk, just have, because I've got several daylight lights. I'm using actually the camera I use is a cheapo sort of snaps type digital camera.
No, that's good.
Actually, I found it. I gave me better results than a more expensive camera which I bought a few years ago.
No, that's interesting, because I found exactly the same. I had a big old camera with lenses and stuff like that. It wasn't quite an SLR, but it was a sort of bigger one, and it just wasn't working properly enough. And I went back to my kind of cheapo point and click thing with some sort of memory card format, in which I'm not entirely sure, however, some sort of memory card that was probably 256 megabyte, that at some point was an enormous amount of memory to have. But now has aged not particularly badly. And I think I read something ages and ages after I'd come back to this to say that cheap cameras have worse quality lenses, which means their depth of field for when they focus is actually bigger. So an expensive camera will focus on a very specific point away from the camera, 2 inches, 3 inches for macro, whereas a cheap camera cannot focus that tightly, so it will focus between 1 and 2 inches and catch everything in quite a long distance. And for soldiers, that's actually better, because you're getting a couple of ranks of the figures in focus, whereas a better camera will only actually ever catch 1 rank. So it was a kind of a thing in which cheap is better. But Dave, you switched us on to the very cheap imported Chinese light box, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, you got that first, but it's really good. I love it to bits. But I've been taking pictures with my iPhone, and I find it's not very good.
Yeah, I think it's just difficult getting an iPhone steady. In fact, Tanton, do you perch your camera on something, or do you use a little tripod?
I have a tripod. I have a sort of mini tripod, which I use. If it's a large group of figures, I'll occasionally put that on top of another box file, just so I can angle down and get its overview shot. But one thing I found with my cheapo digital camera was the settings. I always used to have real problem with blues being washed out and not looking right. Fiddled around with settings, tried different ones, and found that on my camera, using nighttime settings work best. Can't use macro with it, but don't really need to.
Okay, so do you take a picture from a decent distance and then crop it down, or does it just get close anyway?
I use, well, where necessary, I use the telephoto lens just to zoom in a bit, so the figures fill the screen.
Right. Okay.
Do you use like a white light box and things like that?
No, I was saying I've got several daylight bulb lamps, which are arranged around it, so it's lighting from the back, sides, and the front.
Yeah, that's important.
Overhead, which cuts out the shadow, so there's very little shadow in the photos.
No, they do look really good. The photos look really, really clean. It's a really
So
good.
that's the trick then, to get light around it so you don't have the shadows on it.
Yeah.
Very definitely.
Yes, some of the little light box one that Saunders has, he lent it to me and I play around with it. Some of them are quite neat because they've got around where you put the camera, they've got the daylights mounted inside the frame, so you get all the really good light that way. It's quite neat.
Yeah, and that one was only like a few quid, wasn't it?
Like £5.
It's a fiver, yeah. But then again, with postage, it would probably take a year and a half to come at the moment. You never know.
Yeah. But thoroughly recommended, easy to set up. You know, it takes 2 minutes to pull it out the cupboard, take some pictures, put it away again. It's nothing elaborate. Yeah. Works okay. I find if I prop the iPhone on the side and then move the figures around, I've been using the black background. I think that works better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the black background, but I think it shows up the little bits of flock that fall off the figures.
Yes, there is that.
And then you need to hoover them up, and then it's all a mess, and it's just a pain. The white one, it seems a little bit easier to clean, which is probably not part of it. So Tamsin, kind of nothing. Are you just sort of a one theme per week? How, in fact, looking around, how can you be undistracted? There's got to be one other thing that you go, oh, I'll just kind of squeeze this one in, or is that just me?
It's you.
Sometimes I do work on more than one project at a time, but it depends. In this case, I'm focusing strictly on the world's varieties, just to get it done.
Just a pure project approach. All right. Okay. Right. So Dave, last one round before it comes round to me.
Well, I think I definitely have to say that I start off enthusiastic about painting an army, and then when you get halfway through, you're starting to get bored of it. And I think I've reached that point with the samurai.
How many have you done so far?
So I've done 6, 9, 10, 12 bases out of
12
20.
figures.
So I'm almost definitely halfway. All the generals are done because they're nice and pretty. Although I bought some more.
So how many figures is that so far that you've painted of samurai?
So there's 6 bases of samurai bowmen, 4 bases of followers, 5 bases of followers, 2 bases of cavalry, and the stampeding herd nonsense. That's quite funny.
Excellent.
And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 generals. But so the fighting 15s people they've lost their deal with Eureka or something. Mm. So he's been selling off his figures. So I think I've just bought the last stock of those in the world.
You've done me a favour then, because with all the talk of samurai over the last couple of weeks and the various things posted on the club thing, I was like, you get that slight temptation of, oh, I'll just buy a few more.
Well, what we could do, Peter, is I'm probably going back to Australia next April, so lockdown may have finished by then, so we can talk postage rates.
You can buy them direct from Eureka. That could be it. And we could just have a massive samurai off at some point.
Yeah, it's like 8 armies of samurai fighting. Who won? The samurai.
The Koreans.
Yeah. So, Dave, do you base them and finish the basing, or is basing like a separate part of your process?
I really enjoy the basing. I do, especially with the ADLG larger bases. So what I paint them as individual figures on individual cards.
Right. Okay.
So I've got loads of cards, and I chop it up and do I'd supposed to do 6, 12 figures at a time.
Right.
6 cavalry, and I put them on their own individual card.
So they Hondas or Toyotas or something?
And then once they're painted, I'm happy with them. I'll base them up, put them
And
on.
what's your basing routine? Because you took me through it one time.
So stick them on. I'm now using 3 sort of grades. I've got some slates, broken slates, which is thick. Then I've got some cork, which is, I put a tiny bit of slate, tiny bit of cork, and then finish off with basing sand. And I bought some nice basing sand off some young kids in Devises who were called, that's how they're called, let's give them a plug. Gatehouse Gaming, UK.
Okay.
And they're really good. They've got different colours and things like that. So once I've got that done, sand, and it's all dried, I've got, I do 3, I do 1 colour. I use English uniform, Malaysia English uniform, and which is sort of a brownish colour. Then I dry brush with desert sand, and then I dry brush again with buff. And I think the 2 dry brushing's really good. Makes it pop up.
Yeah, I must admit, I do a dry brush with a really pale grey, then a dry brush with bleach bone.
Yeah.
On mine, that's always the final thing.
Yeah, I think this, but I mean, I've dry brushing. When I started, I didn't understand it, but I think I'm starting to get it now, and I really it's amazing what you learn in the period of doing this.
Yeah. So you must be then. So you're literally halfway through Samurai. But have you had a distraction project this week, or has it just been consistent?
No, I've just been doing that.
Okay.
I've been reading.
Reading. What about Samurai?
Dave Allen's doing an essay on Mycenaean warfare. So me and him have been talking about Mycenaean warfare.
Because Dave Allen, he was there, wasn't he, during that war?
he is Achilles.
Yeah. I don't. I know he's a little bit older, but I don't think he ever was Brad Pitt. Really, to be fair, that seems unlikely.
This means war.
Well, I think this week for me has been kind of world of distraction, because I kind of been doing bits and bobs of all sorts of different things. I actually had some stuff arrive in the post, which was great. After a while, I ordered some of the Gripping Beast had a not salute sale. I mentioned it last week, so I ordered some of their armored cavalry, the Gothic cavalry, because I wanted the barded horses to try and paint them up as like coloured horse barding as Arab elite cavalry, and mix all the heads and stuff with my Arab cavalry. And because it was free postage, I thought I'd ordered just the 1 pack, because I have far too many. And when they arrived, there was 2 of them, and I was like, oh, brilliant, they made a mistake, they put twice as many in. And then I looked and I was like, no, it looks like I bought 2, which was just like a bit of a damn. I thought I'd done well, but I've actually spent far too much money on them, which is a minor detail. But it did mean I got a free Viking general figure with that. And then I had a load of little bits from Pendragon, some of the tiny dice frames that I'm going to use for markers for Battle Empire to kind of do somehow. Because you've got to have hits, half hits, and then whether the unit is fired or not. Yeah. So I've got a little marker that will take 3 different coloured dice, and one of them can be for the hits, and then the other 2 can just be markers. So I think I might end up painting out the spots on a whole set of blue and red dice, so that they just become blue and red 7mm cubes, and then leave the white dice as the actual marker that turns over and you look at the numbers on it for a bit of that. I have now nearly finished the Napoleonic cavalry, so I've got 2 lots of 24, of half of them are cuirassiers and half of them are dragoons, who I now know are green, with green, narrow mistake, green with greeny plumes and red spots, and the dragoons are blue and white, and they do look kind of noticeably different, which is good. So they should be based for next time. And I've made a bit of a dent in the teeny tiny, or the other ones, hussars as well, who are just a little bit more colourful. But I think the main thing where I did get badly distracted was I've got this box of old 1/300 scale modern stuff that my brother gave me, that we used to sort of own jointly about 30 years ago, and it kind of came back to me, and I've been gradually refurbishing it. That was the great Dettol story from 6 months ago that I think we all chatted about down the pub or something, in which I used Dettol as a paint stripper, and I ended up with a painting room that basically probably smelt like a ward with enough PPE on it for quite a long period of time. But I just occasionally lift the lid on this box and go, oh, actually, could I put some of this stuff on eBay? So I've been doing quite a bit of eBay, getting rid of things as well. And I suddenly realized I had actually almost a full Arab army that just with a bit of a wash and some army painter, I could actually turn around and get eBay ready. So suddenly in the middle of a painting weekend, I got distracted from the stuff that I should have been finishing and doing, and upgraded and upscaled. I think there was something like 70 tanks in the Arab army, and then about 30 M60s as well, that all got done and inked and varnished and matte varnished and pictured and put on eBay. So they're on sale on eBay. And I've been posting a whole load of other stuff. And yeah, Simon, the postage has been all over the shop. I had one thing I posted 2-3 weeks ago that the guy, we were both kind of worried, me and the guy, that it had got lost, and eventually it turned up. And then the stuff from Pendragon and the stuff from Gripping Beast turned up within a few days. I shifted some eBay Matchbox plastic. They had a set of paratroopers, modern British paratroopers that were real, Falklands era paratroopers. Really great figures, completely unlike all the other 1/72 scale Matchbox stuff that was always a little bit weird compared to FX. These paras were great. So I got rid of them on eBay because they've been sat around. And I kind of got rid of the last of the 20mm force on force stuff that we'd had all those days, which is a shame. Got rid of the TV crew, got rid of the mercenaries, put them in the post today, earlier this morning. So they're out the door. And then I did also get distracted and have waded into painting the what must be a 42mm gnome Napoleon, who now is nearly finished. He's actually a big enough figure that you can put eyes on him and it doesn't look completely ludicrous. Well, about as non-ludicrous as a 42mm garden gnome Napoleon can be. So he's actually getting ready to lead these troops onto it. And then I've also been uploading pictures of my Assyrians, that 28mm army that I've been wittering on about for a while, that got finished about a week and a bit ago.
And they look good.
Oh, thank you. No, I was really, really chuffed with them, and I managed to take some photos outside at the weekend in kind of natural daylight, which really made a bit of a difference. It really pinged them up a bit. So I've uploaded all the photos of the infantry. They're out. I've uploaded, I think today, this morning maybe, or yesterday, the photos of the cavalry, which are there, and I've just got to upload the photos of the chariots as well. And
chariots got the wallpaper on them.
Of course they have. They've got literally the army is painted in exactly the same colours and style as the 15mm army, with the same wallpaper on the chariots as well. So I'm going to upload some of the images, and it seems to have loads of people have been commenting, because I posted it on a few different forums about how good those New Line Designs figures are.
Yeah, they're really good.
Really nice. And I just got them pegged as a 20mm manufacturer in my mind for some reason. I'd kind of missed their 25mm ranges, but
are they the ones that did the Sassanids we saw at Portsmouth?
I don't think that was. I think that was Aventine, wasn't it?
Aventine was Aventine, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I used New Line when we were doing the Saga stuff. I've got some of their stuff as Arab Army.
Okay. Oh, God. Don't tell me there's another 28mm Arab people that I could do. I can't really be doing those, but yeah, they do a lot of biblical stuff, and it's probably almost half the price of Foundry, which is an enormous difference, and it's not far off Foundry in quality at all. Really nicely proportioned.
But the thing is that there's so much plastic stuff you can do.
For Arabs there is, yeah, but this is metal for biblicals. I think they do all sorts of proper biblical ranges.
They do Chinese as well.
Sorry?
They do Han Chinese as well.
Oh, okay, all right. So
yeah, that's where I got my Chinese 20mm Chinese from.
Right.
Oh, 20mm range, not their big range.
No, I looked at their 25mm range as well. I was thinking, if I had not have bought the plastics, I'd be in trouble now.
Okay.
28mm, yeah.
Let's just have a little clap on the. So the 28mm range is what they actually do. So they do ancients, biblical, dark ages, early medieval, Chinese, Romans. Wow. 2p Indians. So what are the Cappadocians, Numidians, German? Wow, there's loads of them. Greeks, Indians, Spanish.
Early medieval Chinese.
Whatever that is, Scythians.
Tang. That's quite interesting.
Wow, I really just not clocked. Yeah, because the biblical stuff, Assyrians, Babylonians, there's not quite pictures on it, and they look a little bit kind of met in the pictures, but they ping up really, really well. And I think the interesting thing was I did the whole army in really consistent color palette that seems to have come out quite well. So, you know, some of the guys have got blue tunics, and then the other guys have got blue shields, and then, you know, there's only about 5 or 6 primary colors on them, but they're all mixed up, so you get a real consistency of color and palette across the whole army. But each unit is composed of quite animated figures, because they've got different they've got separate shields and separate spears, so you can give them a lot more life and variety than you normally do. Just trying to think whether I can actually whiz them up on the website at the moment.
How do you stop the shields dropping off then?
I tend to use, for stuff that absolutely has to stay on, I might have even said this before, I use this like 2-part metal. It's called liquid metal from, where is it? Somewhere in the box here. I'll try and find it. I think it's an araldite thing, but it's liquid metal rather than standard araldite. And I've found that that's just the most solid thing that creates a really good bond, a really good tie. But you do have to kind of blue tack them together and wait for them. It dries pretty quickly, but you still have to kind of pose them and maneuver them whilst it's drying. And then I don't think I've barely ever had any of them come off. And I drilled the hands. I think it's just about that. It's 30 years of bloody war game, isn't it? But the fashion in how a regular army should actually look, I just kind of get the impression it's completely changed in the last 10 plus years, and now it's very rare to see kind of monopose figures. It is just all about uniforms and colours. But even regular troops are pretty regular, but in terms of the way they dress, but they're not regular in pose. Whereas in the olden days, I suppose everything was a regular monopose thing, but this time you're doing it kind of through colours. But I don't know, Dave, were you saying that you've kind of got a strong view on regular, irregular posing and stuff like that? Or
I think, I mean, when I started 10 years ago, you had the sort of leftover of the DBM world where, if you didn't base your figures 8 to a base for regulars and 6 to a base for medium infantry, people started spitting at you, which I didn't understand. And I was like, no, I don't get that. But I mean, recently, I think I do it kind of by army. One thing I like to do is medium foot can cover a whole multitude of sins. So I like to do like 5 javelin men to a 40 by 40. Because I think that makes them in between skirmisher. You can see that there's 5 of them. So they're not...
a bit more dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. And which leaves you can put 6 medium. I mean, because I use a lot of Zyston figures, which you can't get 8 to a base.
No, that's really tough.
If you try to, it makes them look horrible.
Was it you or Tim who did a sort of fighting wedge? I think it was you, Dave, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've done that a few times. But then
Sean does that down the club as well, doesn't he? He does that really well.
And I stole it from...
And Jesse as well.
Exactly.
Jesse does it, yeah.
Jess does... I mean, he almost does 5 to a base, and he groups all his figures in the centre of the base. They almost look like, even, spearmen, they look like a bit of a war band.
Yeah.
And then when you put a load of 40 by 40 together, they actually look really effective. I think Jesse's figures were what I really picked up on. a little bit of less is more. Gordon frowns on that. Gordon's a traditionalist. He likes it all to be 8 to a base, but then he loved their 6 figures.
Yeah.
You can't get that many.
No, I couldn't imagine, it's difficult to imagine doing an army of monopose figures, but then again, I'm saying that and then thinking I've got in the painting pile this an Essex Hungarian. Well, Napoleonic's exactly they're exactly the opposites now. I've just done all those 10 mil, but I think for ancients, I've got this Hungarian thing that they're going to end up at monopose because they're kind of Essex and the spearmen are going to end up monopose, but it's just how much variety you can get. But then maybe it's just harder to buy monopose figures these days. Everything's coming in multi.
Well, I really like
multi-packs.
the way Legio Heroica do that, where they're kind of static, but there's a sort of there's say 3 or 4 poses, but so they're all sort of marching forward or something, but they're in the classic joke about looking to the left, looking to the right, slightly different helmet, which gives it variety. I like that effect a lot. The Essex with the guy standing with his hands in both directions, they look a bit, how can I say, airfix.
Yeah, that's true.
All Empire ones you get subtle differences in what look like otherwise similar identical figures, but you look closely, there are actual differences and nuances.
Yeah.
With these samurai, I've gone for the Ashikiru, who with the big floppy, the big helmets, the sort of big black hats. I put them into unit sizes of 6 in lines together. But the samurai I've put into groups because I think it's each army. You can make an army look interesting. Samurai would be individualistic and fight as individuals. So put them into a group where they're not in lines.
I suppose it is actually partly it's driven by the rules and that move towards away from a very literal what weapons and armor does this figure have towards this capability driven, functional driven descriptions of their swordsmen or their spearmen or cavalry with bows. That's just it. They're not heavy cavalry, lance, bow, shield, darts, all this sort of thing.
One of the projects I was thinking of doing, and I keep holding off from, is rebasing some of the Saga stuff I've done because we're not playing Saga anymore. At least no one I've seen playing it for a while. And do I redo some of that to turn it into a 28mm ADLG one, or I'll get that done and then we'll find another skirmish type one? It's just one of those things.
Yeah, there must be a lot of. Well, maybe it's just our club that didn't really pick up Saga. But I just think there must be, given how much is on eBay and how much is sold clearly and how much is marketed and how many ranges are made for that, there must be so many Saga armies sat there in people's houses that, it's that classic sort of easy to get into pickup game, novelty, build a warband, and then it kind of sits on the shelf.
We had a bit of a craze for it for about a year or two.
Yeah, we did.
And then we moved on to ADLG, so maybe it's Battle Empires, the next one that's going to pick up.
Maybe. Well,
all our ancient armies will be sitting there.
Yeah, that could well be.
Yeah, the Assyrians just gathering dust.
In fact, talking about gathering dust, I've forgotten to open a beer. That's a bit terrible. Normally, Dave, we normally talk beer. I think I'm doing Hepcat from Gypsy Hill again, the Session IPA at 4.6. It looks slightly textured can.
My beer 52 deliveries late, I think.
Oh, no. God, I actually ordered some proper ones. I ordered a set of 18 because I was getting a little bit bored of having a very different beer every single time I open one. So I've now got some sets. So
they sent me an email the other day with a new sort of group of 8 or 10 or something. So.
Well, they sent you an email saying, "Are you okay?" Because they hadn't had an order from you recently.
No, I tried.
Still going. I've still got loads of freebie offers.
Yeah, no, I've got that as well. If anybody else wants to order it, but I think Simon, are you already in that club? Have you already picked up that offer?
No, I looked at the beers and they weren't really much of my flavour.
Ah, okay.
So I decided I found the whiskey instead. So
I've
not been here long enough to catch on to the craft beer craze.
Yeah. The
craft beer I get, I just haven't figured out. I don't like English ale.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yes, I'm Australian. I'm a peasant. We have Fosters. Sorry.
Although Simon's pictures of his irregular kangaroos were a bit disturbing earlier.
Isn't that the pictures behind Tamsin?
Yep.
Where are they from? This is a zoom background of Eureka.
Yeah.
What-
The ones I mentioned last week that I bought at Slough.
Ah, right. Okay. This isn't the secret side painting project for the week that you just remembered.
No.
No, it wasn't Simon just prompting you into it. Okay.
This means war. This means war.
So on to what's next. I guess the main topic of it, we are in fact going to have a discussion about list 169 in the Art de la Guerre book, which, if I can try and grab the Art de la Guerre book or have a look at where we're up to, is the Simon. You're the expert at this one. This was your choice. What have you got?
It was purely scientific, based on a random number generator.
True.
So you're looking for page...
Tang and Five Dynasties, wasn't it?
Yeah, so 169. So it's page 171.
171. Okay. So has everybody prepared a list?
I've got a list.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So this was our way of helping Andy try to decide what new army he should buy, based purely on, ooh, that's shiny. So the version I went for was just because I like to go for some slightly weird and wacky options, especially with these Chinese armies where you can have different combinations. So
just to say, we'll publish links to these.
Yep.
We'll publish all of these on the podcast website or on the wiki as well, so you can actually look at what we're chatting on in detail later on.
So I've gone for one of the allied options. So I've gone for the Southern Han option with a Tibetan ally, just to really have some fun. So what I've gone and done is Command 1, which has got it's an army of 25 elements, so it's not bad.
Very good.
It's got initiative of 2. We got in the first command with the Brilliant General is the more aggressive mounted command. So it's got 4 heavy cavalry, heavy cavalry bow, 2 of which are elite. It's then got a couple of light cavalry bow and a bowman as well, just to walk around and annoy people. The center command is a nice big stodgy wall of foot and an elephant. So we've got 3 of the spearmen and the halberdiers. So they're heavy swordsmen, 200 choppers, because they're always great fun to annoy people. 2 bowmen, an elephant, because we all like an elephant just to run around, because it annoys all the mounted armies. A lightfoot bowman to shield the elephant. Some revolting peasants, because they just float my boat. So they're an impetuous levy, so they're always good to annoy people who get too close to the baggage. And I've also gone for 3 of the tribal auxiliaries, just because if you do get that nice bit of rough terrain that you can drop them into, and they can dig out bowmen who often seem to go into there. And then for the third corps, which is the ally, I've gone for a Tibetan ally. So this is the big punchier one. So we've got 4 heavy cavalry impact, 2 of which are elite, and 1 has a general included, and 2 light horse bow. So 2 big mounted wings that can run around to annoy people, and a nice stodgy center just to hold things down.
So those are quite fluid mounted wings then. And so would you gang them up together, or is it, shove the middle at people, let them deal with it, beat them with the wings? Is there a theory with it, or?
It depends on, as always, I think it depends on terrain. If you get a nice open table, definitely put the 2 on the wings and annoy them, because having 12 elements coming up the center with an elephant, spearman, 200 choppers, bowmen, and medium swordsmen, that's going to annoy a lot of armies, or you've got to deal with it because it's 12 element wide. So then you've got some quite good mounted going into the flanks. If not, you could always do a flank march with one of them. So that'd be good fun, just to have for heavy cavalry impact appearing in your flank going, hello, I've got a big stick.
So it's a pin and envelop army then, really.
That's the theory.
But the pin could actually do you quite a lot of damage as well.
Hmm.
Okay, all right, interesting way of putting it together. So Peter, you're looking puzzled.
Yeah, I was trying to find where I saved it. That's why I'm looking a bit puzzled.
Shall I come back to you later? Is that possible? Andy,
Well,
you're looking ready to talk.
169.
169, right.
Right, yeah, well, I came up with the following. Brilliant commander-in-chief with 2 heavy cavalry bow, 1 light cavalry, and then an infantry group in his command of 2 heavy spear, 3 heavy two-handed weapon swordsmen, a LMI crossbow, and a mediocre LMI bow. Then another command of a LMI javelin, to take out the elephants that might turn up, 2 medium swordsmen, an LMI bow, and a light infantry bow. And then an allied command of Khitan Lao with a competent commander, 2 elite heavy cavalry impact, 2 ordinary heavy cavalry bow, and a light cavalry bow, and also 3 mixed medium sword crossbows.
So that sounds quite a lot of medium-y foot. Is it? It didn't sound kind of that resilient to me, or maybe did I miss the beginning part of it?
Not really. Well, you have 5 heavy infantry, including 2
sorry,
spears.
I missed that.
The idea is you have the 2-handed swordsmen in the middle of that mob with the spears, 1 at each corner, and you've also got 2 heavy cavalry to support them, and then some shooty people to make life slightly unpleasant for anyone who wants to stand off them.
So you're using that second command then to go into terrain and anchor it on, whereas Simon's army is more for plains and open flanks, really.
Yeah, I mean, I would be inclined to try and chuck down as much terrain as I can, and I've got some medium, plenty of medium foot to run around in it. Because I find if you have terrain, if you've got bowmen in there, and you just haven't got enough guys to kick them out, that can really spoil your day. And it can, unpick your line,
Yeah. And how big's that army in terms of hit point?
23.
23, another chunky one. Okay. Anybody else got any thoughts on that one? That would in the match up against Simon's. In fact, maybe.
I like the Khitan Liao idea. I think that I missed that, and I think that's a really good idea with the Guard cavalry.
And that was that's a mix of impact and shooting, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have as many shooty cavalry as you have impact. I don't really see the point of making heavy cavalry bow elite because it doesn't actually help their shooting that much. It kind of keeps them alive a bit longer, but I'd rather, if I had to choose between some elite guys, I'd rather give it to the impact cavalry and use them as a...
they're going to fight more often, aren't they?
Yeah, I prefer heavy cavalry impact bow elite because just heavy cavalry bow, they never seem to do the finish off. You sort of like get a hit in and then it's either running away or it's coming in to hit you.
Yeah, you never quite get enough shots off with them, do you?
No.
I'm writing up some battle reports which seem to prove that quite well as we speak. Once I get through to them. All right. So Peter, you're interjecting there. Is that a symbol that you managed to find whatever it was you've lost?
I haven't found it, but the gist of it, what I was looking at, because I looked at the Khitan Lao and I looked at the other ones, and they looked fairly similar. They'd have that horse, but it didn't have that sort of like that je ne sais quoi that I like, which is the heavy cavalry bow impact elite, which that's like perfect for me on the wings. So they didn't have that. So I just decided to flip it and go the other way and really double down on the heavy stuff. And I remembered a good list that Hubert did at the club on one of the one-dayers, because the terrain you've got here, you've got mountains and forests. You can really load up the stuff. And this is what Hubert did. He got a good command rating, a lot of heavy swordsmen, and you have two-handed heavy swordsmen going through with forests and other bits blocking it out. So you're not going to get shot at a lot, and just overwhelming them, going down the different alleys that are basically set up for you to go at. So you can have one which has got an elephant with medium foot if needed, if there's any flat terrain, but otherwise two commands of heavy to really stock it out. and just double down on the two-handed swordsman and two-handed swords elite, because you can get four two-handed sword elite if you don't do the elephant. If you do the elephant, you can get a couple of them. But then you've got 8 heavy swordsmen two-handers. Add in a couple of crossbows just around the edges, so you can get that shot and use that for the extra 3 for the overlapping and that, and you can really start to do a hit. But the problem is it then ends up being a grindy army. But with the two-hander, once you go in and you win against in the first one, it really puts them on a back foot.
Yeah, you start winning a bit quicker. Okay. So that's a way of using this army just to close down the terrain and grind them down through the gap that's left.
Yeah. Don't do fancy stuff. Just get in there, get them hit. Don't worry so much about the other bit. Have some heavy cavalry bow just to worry about the edges, just to keep them interested. But it's mainly a delivery system to get in there, hit, and punch through them.
Get with the heavy infantry. So Tamsin, what was your 3 commands? How are you putting the list together?
I did it pretty much as a sort of general purpose list. So it's a terrain command with like LMI Jav, 2 medium sword tribal auxiliary, 1 bowman to be an asshole, and 3 light cavalry bow to really piss people off.
Right. Get rid of it.
And a cavalry command with 3 Turkish light cav bow elite and 3 of the noble heavy cavalry bow. So there's a mobile command that can go either wing or centre, wherever it's needed. Light cavalry adding on to the shooting from the heavy cavalry. Then sort of a solid infantry block as a final command. So 4 heavy spear, 4 of the heavy sword, 2-handed weapon, 2 bow, 2 light infantry bow, sort of out front protection, and that was pretty much it.
So that's a big old anvil in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's 25 units.
Wow, and it must have a decent aggression with or command initiative with
light cavalry, and the commanders, I think it was +3.
That's pretty pokey. That should give you control of terrain, shouldn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Okay, nice and simple. And then
quite a lot of light.
Yeah. If you get into, I suppose, with the mountain and the forest, you're going to get quite a lot of severe terrain. So the cavalry can't go into it no matter what it is, so they can go round it. And then the light foot and the other skirmishy stuff can actually do reasonably well in that terrain.
Yeah.
Make it difficult to get out of. All right. Dave, you're a man who's played and painted with quite a lot of Chinese. Is this one of the ones you've tried?
Well, no, I'm not a fan of this list, because I think it struggles because you've got compulsory heavy foot, and yet your cavalry are bow. So it falls between 2 stools, if that's the right word. So it doesn't work for me as a list. I think there's other better lists for Chinese. The list I finally came up with, I think, because your heavy cavalry are bow, and that's where your elites are, I think you have to decide it's a shooting army, and it's going to go in and shoot. So, and what I like to do is, if you're going to have shooty cavalry, support them with bowmen. So I've got a CNC who's a brilliant general, and he's got the 2 heavy cavalry elite bow and 3 other heavy cavalry bow. Then
that's the biggest cavalry command we've heard of so far, isn't it? 5. I don't think anyone's got 5 in a.
It's a brilliant general. So you've got the command, and he's also got, so he's got 5 heavy cavalry bow, 2 elites. He's also got 2 light cavalry bow elite.
Wow.
And he's also got 2 bowmen with that command. So the bowman can shoot with the cavalry, and it's a very fluid command. That's the idea of that.
So would you use the light cavalry, would you expect to use them too deep to get the support shooting? Or would you
what I would do is I would put them wide with another heavy cavalry bowman with them, so that you can threaten, basically you're going to go round a flank with elite light horse and a heavy cavalry bowman. So that's going to be that's also a micro command in itself.
Yeah, and then you're pinning them with the other 6 in that command.
And
Okay.
also with a brilliant general, you can actually peel off that group on its own, so you can almost split into 4 commands, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Because
That's
okay,
good.
so my third core is the elephant with the 2 tribal auxiliary, the 2 medium swordsmen, impetuous, but they've also got 2 crossbowmen with them as well. So this is where I'm bringing in the shooting. So they can sit, and that their bow will work with the heavy cavalry elite bow, whilst the third command pins around the other side of the elephant. So you go down the table through the centre with the elephant, and you've got heavy cavalry on either side. Then your
Okay.
heavy foot are just a pinning group. So I take the 2 ones who are elite because they're going to survive shooting more. So basically, there's 5 heavy swordsmen, 2-handed weapon, 2 of which are elite.
Okay.
And they've got the javelin. They've got a javelinman for any elephants who wander along and cause trouble.
So compared to some of the other people who put a bigger block of, no, a lot of people have had a big block of heavy infantry in the middle, but you've kind of stacked your cavalry into one flank to start with, and then you're using the elephant plus 2 crossbowmen as a sort of anti-cavalry neutralizer on the other flank that can chase off infantry as well.
Yeah, because one elephant on its own is not that good. I mean, it's good enough to get people on the run, but it's not going to survive very long. So you need to get people on the run and then keep them on the run with your cavalry.
Okay.
And I think the impetuous, because you've got no medium foot in this army. The only thing to support the elephant are impetuous medium foot, and it's very easy to peel off the medium foot with things when they're impetuous. So that elephant command is not going to last very long, I don't think.
So you're expecting to lose the 3 combat troops out of it and then faff around with the crossbowmen?
Yeah, I think that's a scare one, and get people on the run, and then you're basically pushing them on the run, and you're utilising the shooting. However, there is another way to get this list, and I think a better way of doing it is to take the Tibetan ally, and I go with Simon on that, and I would go with the 4 elite cataphracts and an included ordinary general in that command, and have the heavy cavalry on one side and the heavy foot on the other.
So you'd swap the Tibetans for the elephants then, effectively?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, that's another way of doing it. All right. So again, a completely different, still with that solid infantry centre. Well, this was kind of mine. This one here, as I managed to hopefully use screen share. So this isn't a great one. This is one of those, what troops have I got and what will be a laugh? So I think, it's a textbook Death Star at the start, very small command with an elephant, the 2 swordsmen either side of it, couple of screening light infantry bow, and this just with an ordinary general. So this is just a simple Death Star, charge forward, bowling ball, throw the elephant at people and cause them trouble. And then my second command, that was where the big command was, with a brilliant general. And again, textbook use of a brilliant general to try and make this into a couple of commands and operate them separately. So I'd got a bit like Dave, I got the 2 elite heavy cavalry bow and 1 light cavalry bow as kind of an outrider force that could support other stuff and roam around, and then 2 other normal heavy cavalry bow. So this is a 4 cavalry and a bowman command, plus 1 elite heavy spearman. I think my points didn't quite add up. 1 heavy swordsman with turning cutting weapon who's elite, 2 more who are ordinary, couple of spearmen to neutralize cavalry. So suddenly you've got a block of 5 heavy infantry, pretty much the same as most people, with just the 1 elite in the middle, and then a javelinman kind of floating around as the I'm going to pop out and try and threaten elephants if I can list. So that is very much operating as ploddy foot in one big block, plus the cavalry as an outlier. And then for the last one, again, I'd gone same with the thing, Tibetan, all cataphracts, 2 elite, 2 ordinary, and a light cavalry. So I always think having a light cavalry is a little bit better, particularly as they can evade through them, rather than just having cataphracts on their own. But I suspect that this was really driven by the fact I've got an absolute truckload full of cataphracts that from a kind of FOG DBM Tibetan army. So I must have the best part of 20 bases of these damn things, and it's all.
Have you ever seen cataphracts used that well in ADLG though? Anytime I've seen them used, they've like kind of spluttered, but not really delivered.
Well, it was, you know, the competition at Burton was pretty cataphract heavy. I think in theme they can be pretty good, but it's, you know, if they come out of theme and start hitting other stuff that they shouldn't really be fighting, they do struggle.
Richard and I won with that.
Yeah, you run with a cataphracty Palmyran army, wasn't it? I think.
I think the list that Tim's just put up is very much like a Palmyran army. I think I would look at this Tang list in much the way that Richard Case uses his Palmyrans, and have a messing around cavalry shooty wing, a cataphract wing, and a heavy foot bow centre. And I think that's quite a good way of playing it.
I must admit, looking at this now, having heard all of you talk about it, I think this is very definitely missing some actual bowmen. You know, I think since I wrote this list, this is an old one that I dug out and had in the files. But I think looking at it now in the light of the last few competitions, having a couple of extra bowmen really does allow you to kind of reach out and drive people away. It makes a big literence. And I think that's probably how the game, or my game's evolved a bit in the last year or so, which is probably how old this one is. The bowman crossbowman, I think, really does add quite a lot of it, because it's still with the Tibetans, it's still tiny. And I think, Dave, you know, you swapping out the Elephant Death Star command, this Tibetan command is 51 points, and then the Death Star command is 35. So that's still a huge difference to try and get 4 cataphracts. You'd end up trimming down the rest of your army somehow in quite a different way. But so this is more kind of bit of fun and overwhelm people with the Death Star and the cataphracts, and pin them with a heavy foot and try and get away with it.
So that's why I quite like going the heavy foot route, just because, you know, being on put myself on the defensive in the forest, ambush out of there. You can still have the Elephant Death Star, which, you know, it'd come up to, as you've got there, 35 points. You've spent just under 100 on 10 heavy swordsmen, 2 of which elite, so you can have a 5 and 5. And one of them you can have a couple of light cav just for screeners off on the edge. Add in, you know, you still got, 30 odd points. You stick in a couple of light infantry and a couple of shooters. You've got some pretty heavy chunk stuff coming out. So if the terrain lands nicely for you, you can have a whole bunch of 2-handed choppy guys coming out of the woods out of you in turn 1.
Yeah, no, I think it's you know, there are so many of these Chinese lists. There's so many of these Chinese lists around about this period that have so much flexibility in it. But I think it feels like we've all sort of drifted towards that heavy infantry centre, and it's really whether the lists fall into almost 2 categories of the heavy infantry centre is there, that it's so big it tries to overwhelm you, or it's actually something there to almost pin and lock the enemy in place, whilst two bigger wings or 2 slightly more, you know, aggressive wings actually try and overwhelm you. And I think it's an interesting way of looking at that army, as you can overwhelm people with sheer weight of heavy infantry and use the wings as support, or you can use it as an anvil and try and kind of come around the sides and work the flanks with it. In both ways, very flexible list.
This means war.
Okay, so that was this week's list. So for next week, we're on random.org, a website to generate random numbers, and we're picking a random number between 1 and 266. And I'm about to press the magic button, and the magic button is pressed, and it says number 65, which sounds like a
Lydian.
Okay, that probably fits our category.
Page
yes.
115.
It's got allies with it. It's got a mix of cavalry. It's got light chariots. It's one that people wouldn't normally use. I think that works.
I think it's
We'll
good.
return and try some Lydians again then.
Sold.
Fantastic.
What page was it?
Lydians.
Page 116.
115, 116.
Does anyone know anything about the Lydians other than that they're on page 115?
So, what's his name? Richard Croesus.
Richard Croesus, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, Croesus was the general, was the king of Lydia. No, was he? No, that's somebody else, isn't it?
You should.
But I think they're kind of similar. So it's one of the Asia Minor countries. It's a state on the Asia Minor coast. So it's got a sort of Greek influence.
It's in modern Turkey, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's got a sort of Greek influence, but also a Persian influence.
It's Anatolian. The Lydians, they were known as the Sparta to the Achaemenids. They lived in Lydia. They had a Lydian language, and no one really knows much more about them. They had a culture that was wiped out.
Croesus was the king of Lydia.
And they were beaten by Cyrus the Great.
So this is a good army for Peter, who can spray them all gold.
That's that's fantastic. Good.
Or just by touching them.
Okay.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, there's some interesting. Wikipedia gives some very weird stuff. So yes. So apparently, according to Herodotus, we're not even going to go there. That's just really weird. Yeah, look this up on Wikipedia. It's very, very odd. I'm not even sure that could possibly be true. So yes, we're doing Lydians next week then. Something to look forward to.
Lots of heavy spearmen.
So they're kind of Greekish. They're one of the more Greek of the Persian satraps.
Well, I have a horrible suspicion, were I to field the army, they would look exceptionally very close to Greek hoplites in the way that they appear on table. So
Greek hoplites would be the basis of it. And I think the cavalry, so they had more cavalry than the Greeks. They were much more cavalry based, but the cavalry would look much more Greek in style.
Right. Okay. Well, something to look forward to next week, Lydians, and we'll probably task someone also with doing some historical research to give us a bit more context to it. Because I think that may well have been something that was missing from our straight to the army list discussion about the Chinese, which was entirely context free.
This means war. This means war.
Okay then, well I think that means we must be getting towards the tail end of it, which means we've got a couple more things to do. As we sit here at as rather scary 9:20 in real time. So I think if we do in unusual order, before we wade into Andy's quiz, has anybody got anything that's been pressing their wargaming buttons this week or been of concern to them? Not a Scooby.
I went shopping and bought 100 quid worth of 7 Years War figures from QRF.
7 Years War. This is for
one of the guys at our club. He wrote a rule set called King of the Battlefield, and it's one of those armies where I bought it years ago, left in the cupboard, sort of painted up, and never really got to the end of it. And since we're in lockdown, it's like might as well get over the line. And QRF.
And you need to spend another 100 quid to get it over the line.
Well, you may not need to.
Simon didn't have any artillery, he didn't have enough infantry, and needs more cavalry.
Well, details.
Simon, were there decals involved?
No, this time I actually got it correct. So we're not going to talk about decals again.
Is the 7 Years War kind of Napoleonic with triangular hats?
Yeah, so it's about.
Or is there more to it than that?
Well, they've got more muskets than actual shorter ranges that just literally line up and just blast each other from about 20 feet, weren't they?
Basically, from what I know of, and lots of pretty.
Oh God, isn't it?
Pretty uniforms.
No infantry squares.
So it's basically Napoleonic, but everybody's really vulnerable to cavalry charges.
Yeah.
And you have triangular hats.
So Mr. Ian Goodwin from our club wrote the rules, and they're quite popular at our club, and they look really pretty. So it gives an excuse to paint up Swedish armies and Prussians and all that. So
well, they could actually.
No one in the club has done Swedes yet.
Yeah, I might be doing Swedes just because I like Swedish heavy metal.
Or Portuguese, I think.
Portuguese in the 7 Years War?
Yes.
Did they get lost?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, well, they got
It's
involved
like I
somehow.
almost did a.
There are a lot of
Brazilian army.
there are a lot of sideshow theatres in the 7 Years' War that people don't look at.
right.
Don't forget, it also includes French Indian Wars in the Americas.
True.
It includes French versus English in Indian subcontinent.
Wow.
There was a lot of fighting going on at the time. I mean, the Swedes were still at it after Gustavus Adolphus. Wasn't there the Great North War?
Yeah, Great
Mhm.
Northern War.
There was a war in
also-
Sweden, Russia, and Poland, and
Wow. And are the Swedes kind of painted grey? Am I making that up? Or
they're still grey.
No, they mostly in a sort of dark blue. They look quite close to the Prussians, the coat colours, but hairstyles remained much earlier.
right. Okay. Fair enough.
Kind of the end of the fog Renaissance period and running into Frederick the First creating the first professional armies, and the end of that French domination at the end of the Renaissance.
The other thing I actually bought to get a basic idea of 7 Years' War history, I even bought a book on 7 Years' War.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, it's scary actually. I'm trying to learn what I'm doing.
So is it a book on? Is it like an Osprey book, or is it like a real proper book with not as many pictures?
It's a real proper book with, but it has pictures as well. So let me just get the title up. Please hold.
Right.
So it's a book called The 7 Years' War in Europe, 1756 to 1763. It's a couple hundred pages of all of the European conflicts and all that. So it's got a lot of maps of battles, the various people involved, who's doing what and all that. So,
I nearly there said the most textbook stupid thing of you said, what, 64? That's only 7 years. That's not very long. And then suddenly I did realise that's because normally these war things do take a lot longer, really. But no, absolutely not.
Millennium and Churchill's relatives fighting, and all that, which is, as you say, tricorn hats and that fighting the French. Then you got the Great North War, which is the Russians, Poles. Everybody was fighting. Everybody was having
when I was doing a little bit of research, they were implying that it was nominally the First World War, because you had all of Europe fighting each other, plus you had the Americas and various other parts of the world all fighting. So,
all for Quebec.
Yeah.
I've just read that High Timbers book, and we got freebie from Osprey. That's quite fun.
Okay.
That was a bit of history I'd no idea about. Didn't end up good for the Indians, of course.
So we're now at that, the famous French techno part of the Wargaming Week, in which we go into Andy's quiz.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
Oh, isn't it good to hear that music again? So Andy, let's start as usual, as is traditional now, after our 4 or 5 weeks, with last week's questions and last week's answers, and we'll see who can get the answers to the questions from the gang of 6, yourself excluded.
Fine. First question was, the theme was the dogs of war. So the first question was, which strategist was defeated at the Battle of Cynocephali, which means the dog's head, in the year 197 BCE?
Dave, you look like someone who's going to shout it out.
It's going to be Macedonian, so I'm going to guess it's a Philip, but I'm not sure which one.
Philip of Macedon. Well done, Tamsin. That's right.
5th?
Right.
6th?
Second
Any advance
question
on 5?
was... Pardon?
Any advance on Philip V? Philip
I
VI?
think it was the 5th.
Yep, it's Philip of Macedon. Right.
Brilliant.
Second question.
Good answer.
What was the name of the Alsatian commended by Napoleon for bolstering the morale of the French Grand Army in the 1812 Russian campaign?
Victor.
Fido?
Rex.
The answer is Marshal Ney, because he came from Alsace.
Oh, right. Excellent.
Tricky.
Very cute.
And the third question was, what was captured by HMS Bulldog on the 9th of May 1941?
I know that one.
Enigma machine.
Enigma machine. That's right.
Yeah. Badly played by in the films where they turned into a US ship.
Wasn't it?
Well, that was actually another one where they did capture it, but unlike the movie, it wasn't like cunningly planned miles in advance.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just about to
And
say,
of course,
didn't
the
the
Poles
Americans
had captured one in 1939 and got it to us.
Yeah, the Poles did.
Yeah, but not off a U-boat.
Not off a U-boat, no.
And in all that
You
time,
put
it's
on
still,
an extra reel.
So
in all that time,
the
it's still possible to hack
1941
Zoom, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have had the 1941, submarine codes of the one the Poles had.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
Anyway, this week's quiz is, since it just had St. George's Day, so this is going to be the best of British. And here are 3 quotes by or about British generals, and you just need to identify them. And this is multiple choice.
Are you going to do them in voices? Are you going to do like proper posh military voices? Just
No,
no, you're not. Okay.
No,
Just try. I've got to ask.
it would be really silly.
Yes.
The first one is, of whom did his monarch say, "Mad is he? Then I hope he will bite some of my other generals." Now, was the general referred to Sir Walter Raleigh, Prince Rupert of the Rhine, or James Wolfe?
The wolf is a dog themed, isn't it? That's going back to last week. That's one of your old questions. That's the answer.
It might be, you never know. Right, there again, Wolfe may not be the right answer. The second question is, who said in a report, "The village of Fuentes de Honoro, having been the field of battle, has not been much improved by the circumstance"? Was that John Churchill, Duke of Marlborough, the Duke of Wellington, or Field Marshal Montgomery? Okay. Which general, after capturing the province of Sind, sent the War Office a one-word telegram saying "peccavi," the Latin for "I have sinned"? Was that Sir
one.
Harry Smith, Sir Henry Havelock, or Sir Charles Napier?
Okay. 3 good proper British things there. Excellent stuff. Well, there we go. That's this week's questions.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
Oh, everybody's just, all the heads are a little rocking on the Zoom thing as we're all getting down to our French underground, deep house, garage, techno, slow motion, reverse quiz music there. That's all happening. One day we're going to do a special and we'll do the whole song, the whole 8-minute remix. It's going to be fabulous. So look, before we wrap up for the week, then for another epic episode, just go around. Has anybody got anything they've sent out, got coming in the post, something they're looking forward to? If I kind of go around clockwise, Peter, where do you anything other than just Austrians for this week?
Well, I've got a 28mm Harley biker to paint up as well. So
Which is
World
just...
War, not that you have many distractions or anything else, but I just happened to have it and found it in the box of things I picked up at Salute at one point, and I need to paint at some point because one of my neighbours actually has the bike,
Wow.
the remake one. So.
Is that the Great Escape figure, or is that just something else?
No, it's a actual World War II.
It was on a Triumph.
Oh.
No, Harley, a Triumph.
No, McQueen.
McQueen was on that.
McQueen was a Triumph. This is a Harley.
Okay.
So I've got that, and more Austrians. Working down the list, I think I'll move on to artillery to blow things up next.
Okay. So Tamsin, are you going to be distracted this week, or are you just going to be disciplined, focused, carry on chugging away?
I think I'm going to be disciplined and carry on with the cavalry just to get it done. So
Great,
the horses I should have finished the next couple of days, and then it's on to riders.
Okay. Doing them separately. Intriguing.
Yeah.
All right. And Dr. Dave, in your painting bunker?
So the samurai will continue, but I will look at... I've got a box of Khurasanian Ottoman Turks, which are kind of second-hand off Sean at our club. I'm looking at them now and I'm thinking I need to pull them out of the box and start having a look at the actual figures and deciding whether I can start them at some point.
Would you do them in parallel to the samurai? Do you think the other samurai starting to wear you down?
I mean, I've still got 4 or 5 bases of heavy foot samurai to do, which will be quite fun. They'll be quite fun. And 2 bases of heavy cavalry to do. So I think, I mean, I'll do them in parallel. I mean, it's just a matter of sort of looking at them, cleaning them up, thinking about how to paint them, really. Sort of thing on that. I've been looking at some silly figures, carrying on with the silly samurai figures recently. This Bushido set of rules from GCT Studios. They were at Salute last year, and I've seen, but they've sold out of their Buddhist monk on top of a tortoise.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? You would.
And I was thinking about that figure for a general or a camp at least.
Yeah.
Definitely general, strategist.
Yeah, something like that. He actually goes on a 40 by 40 millimeter base. So,
Tim, don't you have like weird and wonderful sort of skirmish one? What's it called? The one that you like?
Oh, Malifaux. Yeah, no, I think for this week, you know, I've actually been motoring through getting some stuff on eBay. As I was saying, I've got a lot of these 20mm stuff's gone. I've got these 1/300 things going on, and Malifaux kind of changed its factions and stuff. It had a freshen up of the rules about 6-8 months ago, which means I've got a whole set of figures that are no longer really applicable to use in the force that I've got, you know, assuming that I get back out there and do it. So now that I've kind of bitten the bullet and got rid of pretty much all of these 1/300 scale and all these sort of 20mm modern stuff that I wasn't playing, I do need to go through the Malifaux box and start selling some of the figures that I can't now really use, and winnowing that collection down a bit. You know, they're ones that I spent an awful lot of time painting. In fact, I've actually got here on the desk, I've got a couple of very small, that doesn't really come out in the background, but a couple of really small sort of hawk things that they've moved faction. They've become the property of the guild rather than the property of the Arcanists, which is a bit of a shame because they're really nicely painted figures, but I'm going to offload them to some people as well. And I think this week will see the end of the Napoleonic 10mm stuff. I'll have the full set done. I'm just trying to work out, in fact, my last things to base is probably 4 bases of Hussars, and I'm wondering if there's any sort of rationale for basing Hussars on slightly smaller bases than the other cavalry, because I'm only having 3 on a base for the Hussars to make them a bit more lightweight, and then they'll fit between little gaps better, possibly. I don't know. Otherwise, they'll just be too spread out on a normal cavalry base for that. And then I need to finish basing up Gnome Napoleon, and I've got a few other gnomes to do, and I'm trying to get through the odds and sods that are on the painting table before I get into another proper thing. But I think we've got a few days of potential rain and grey weather in the middle of the week before it brightens up at the weekend. So that kind of puts a kibosh on spraying anything new, which is a fantastic result. That will help me finish forcing some of this other stuff. And then I think I've got a few paints possibly that are sort of getting towards the end of being viable, and I can see myself having to buy the odd few paints as well over the next week. But say some of the stuff I've done mail orders come pretty quickly, so that's been a result. Simon, what about you? Is it because you're coming to the end of a couple of projects, but then you just got this enormous great 7 Years War thing, but then you're going to spray them grey, ink wash them, and they'll be done or something?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So the focus for this week is, now that the British are done, is to do the 15mm Chinese chariots I was talking about last week. So they're being base coated white, and now to actually paint them all.
And are those museum ones?
Yeah, these are the museum Chinese ones, the big chariot wheels and the umbrellas and all that. So
actually, would the I was just thinking aloud, would my Assyrian wallpaper, obviously not with Assyrian designs, but is there Chinese wallpaper would it work on those chariots? I'm trying to remember what they look like. Have they got big enough, slabby enough sides to try that?
They don't have big enough. The sides have like some wooden paneling, like little box wooden paneling.
Right.
But what you could do is on the elephant, so not the elephant, on the general, he's got a big umbrella that's basically the width of the chariot, and you could put a big wallpaper on that.
Okay.
I think
All right.
Gordon's done that a couple of times. Looks quite effective.
Okay. So Chinese chariots, and then the Chinese army's ready, and then finally, Andy, bottom corner. Where are you? What's your this week?
And in between work, it seems to be really labour intensive at the moment. But finish off the Vikings. I'm fairly sure I'll do that, and then probably go on to start some Anglo-Saxons. I've got a few Huscarls and a few Ferd to add to what I've already got.
There's nothing like really mixing up then, is there? Finishing the Vikings and getting onto the Anglo-Saxons.
And we're doing a bit of a campaign, aren't we, Andy?
Well, yeah, you got yourself organised for that, yeah, and I'm waiting for Inaki's moves, and then Peter and Simon need to get themselves slightly organised.
So
it's on the long list of things to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
no worries.
Well, look, maybe we can talk about the campaign then, how that's been set up, and what's actually happening in it next week.
It's basically just using the Lucas Scharnhorst system to move ADLG armies around the map, and it'll end in a battle.
Right,
and then there'll be two battles, one for sort of the south, which is William against Harold, and the other up in the north, which is the Northern Earls against the Vikings. And whoever wins those kind of meets in the final. So think of it as an FA Cup with hand-to-hand combat.
Right. Well, that's always the best form of it. Good. Well, look, thank you everybody for joining us yet again on.
Before
Simon,
we go,
you're in.
Just saw some breaking news. Seems like just today on Twitter, the UK Board Games Expo that was rescheduled from
August, wasn't it? Yeah.
May to August has now been cancelled, and it's going to be June 2021.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw the video from the two guys who run it. They were interviewed on Beasts of War. I think it's a big event, and they made a really, really good point. I think they did a really good job of just talking about how they were doing it for everybody's benefit and how much it's going to sort of hurt them financially. They're doing it right, giving refunds to everybody. But I think the thing that really struck me was they were saying that for the retailers who exhibit at that show, because it's so big, they have to order in a lot of extra stock. So kind of now is almost even, when or really as late as those people could possibly order stock. And they were saying, well, they can't really ask people to possibly buy 20, 30 grand's worth of stock at this point in time for a show that may or may not take place, And I think that was actually the trigger for them pulling the trigger now. I think there's smaller events that have got a smaller footprint and a smaller, preparation time that potentially can hang on and take a later decision. But yeah, if you're asking 20,000 people and you're asking retailers to fork out 20, 30 grand's worth of new stock, you've really got to make that decision pretty early. In fact, I saw today that Attack as well in July is actually pulled as well, and I think that's in Devices. That's a bit earlier still, but again, it's a lot of work for the committee in between jobs and things to organise that, because there's a lot of moving parts to that show. So I think that's a big challenge, and that's pretty early. And I think that it's not going to be the last one. I don't think it's when the country comes out of social distancing. So, but look, it sounds like everybody's doing it the right way, and the shows are telling people early and being open and giving good comms and giving people refunds and things. So fingers crossed, everybody seems to understand. All right, folks. Well, look, we will reconvene again next week, and we will talk about the Lydian list. We'll all do a bit of research on Lydia. We'll all work out a way of doing hoplites and chariots and cavalry, and chat about that. We'll post the lists or links to the lists from this week on the website somewhere and get that done. And then next week we can go around the painting again, and we can talk about the Lydians, and we can talk about how the campaign's gone or how we're playing it out, and anything else that we can dredge up between now and then. So thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.